On the broadcast tonight, after weeks of back and forth and a period of silence from North Korea, the two Koreas finally settled on a date for preparatory talks to set up a family reunion event at the North Mount Kumgang resort. Korea's financial market rattles as emerging markets continue to lose ground following the U.S. Fed's tapering last week. Now, Korean stocks finished lower and the local currency plunges the most in 7 months. And over in Thailand, anti-government protesters dismissed Sunday's snap elections and vowed to continue mass street protests to topple the caretaker government of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. This is Early Edition at 6. It is 4 a.m. in Washington, 4 p.m. in Bangkok, and 6 on a Monday evening here in Seoul. Welcome to Early Edition at 6. I'm Moon Gun-young.
And I'm Daniel Chen. Thank you for joining us. We have some positive development between the conversation North Korea and South Korea this time.
Right, the two Koreas are one step closer to a resumption of reunions for families separated by the Korean War.
After exchanging messages back and forth on Monday, the South and North have agreed to hold working-level talks on the matter this week. Our Hwang Sung-hee starts us off.
Breaking its week-long silence, North Korea proposed on Monday morning that the two Koreas meet for Red Cross talks on either Wednesday or Thursday to discuss resuming the long-suspended reunions for families divided by the Korean War. Shortly after, South Korea accepted the proposal, calling for talks on Wednesday at the truce village of Panmunjom. At the meeting, the two sides will decide when and where the reunions will take place. South Korea had previously proposed holding the event from February 17th to the 22nd at North Korea's Mount Kumgang resort. But since it takes roughly 2 weeks to prepare for such an event, the Koreas are up against the clock. Nonetheless, Seoul's unification ministry prefers sooner rather than later.
The exact date must be discussed with North Korea, the working-level talks, but the South Korean government will try to have the family reunions held as soon as possible, considering the urgency of the matter.
The upcoming joint military exercises between South Korea and the United States, scheduled to begin late this month, could also push back the reunions. Seoul and Washington say the annual drills involving thousands of troops are purely defensive in nature, but Pyongyang views them as a war game. Experts say the North could make a counter-proposal on the reunion dates that would have the event taking place after the Key Resolve and Full Eagle exercises, which end in April, or even walk away.
They always can say, we were nice, we wanted family reunions, we wanted better relations, but the South Koreans, as usual, again showed their aggressive nature.
South Korea had earlier said that the reunion dates could be changed upon North Korea's request if it was for justifiable reasons. But because North Korea has a history of walking out of its agreements, the elderly family members waiting to reunite for the first time in more than 6 decades will likely have their fingers crossed until the day they see their loved ones again. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Park Geun-hye has nominated First Vice Foreign Minister Kim Kyu-hyun as the head of the newly revived National Security Council Secretariat. Now, Kim, a career diplomat, has served as a deputy chief mission to the United States and the deputy foreign minister. The presidential office of Cheong Wa-dae says his leadership as well as his negotiation and crisis management skills as a longtime diplomat were the main reasons behind the president's decision. In his new role, Kim will help to support preparations and management at the National Security Council. As chief of the NSC Secretariat, Kim will also double as first deputy chief of the Presidential Office of National Security. And there may be a flurry of diplomatic activities between Seoul and Washington regarding North Korea and stability in Northeast Asia. Our Kim Ji-hyun reports.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is reportedly planning a visit to South Korea later this month to discuss security issues on the Korean peninsula and ways to deal with potential provocations from North Korea. At a security forum in Munich on Saturday, Kerry announced his plans to visit China in 2 weeks to work on the North Korean issue. South Korean government sources say the U.S. top diplomat is likely to pay a visit to Seoul before or after his trip to Beijing. That would put Kerry in Seoul sometime during the third week of this month, right before the joint South Korea-U.S. Key Resolve military exercises are scheduled to start in Korea. Could his trip be followed up by a visit from U.S. President Barack Obama a couple months later? Citing U.S. and Japanese officials, the Yomiuri Shimbun reports that President Obama will be making stops in Japan, the Philippines, and Malaysia during a tour of the region in April. He is reportedly considering a visit to Seoul as well. Obama and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe are expected to discuss a wide range of issues, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the territorial disputes with China and Japan, and the denuclearization of North Korea. President Obama had to cancel his trip to Southeast Asia in October due to the federal shutdown in the United States. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
20 years. That's the prison term prosecutors are seeking for a leftist South Korean lawmaker accused of plotting to overthrow his own government. Lee Seok-gi is currently standing trial on those charges, and a verdict is expected in 2 weeks' time. Our Park Ji-won has the latest.
At the Suwon District Court on Monday, prosecutors requested a 20-year prison term for left-wing lawmaker Lee Seok-gi, who stands accused of conspiring to stage a revolt in the event of an inner Korean war. Prosecutors also demanded that the 52-year-old lawmaker be stripped of his voting rights and be restricted from holding public office for 10 years after his release from prison. Prosecutors say the severe punishment befits the crime, as Lee had previously been arrested and prosecuted for a similar offense back in 2002. They added that Lee has shown no remorse for his actions and that he attempted to destroy the basic democratic order of South Korea in violation of constitutional law. Lee is currently standing trial on charges of leading a pro-North Korea group called the Revolutionary Organization. The underground group was allegedly plotting to overthrow the government by plotting to sabotage the South Korean government and U.S. troops in the event of an inner Korean war. In addition to Lee, prosecutors are seeking 10 to 15-year prison terms for 6 other Unified Progressive Party members who were indicted on the same charges. Lee has consistently denied the insurrection charges against him. A final verdict in his trial is scheduled to come by the 17th of this month at the latest. Observers say the ruling is likely to greatly influence the Constitutional Court's ruling on whether the leftist Unified Progressive Party should be disbanded. The National Assembly is also currently reviewing a motion that calls for Lee Seok-gi to be removed from his parliamentary seat. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Shifting gears a little bit, like in most countries, the summer months are the peak time for travelers in Korea. In an attempt to spread out demand and to create more tourism hotspots in the country, the government unveiled a second batch of tourism promotion measures on Monday. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Jin-ju files us this report.
If the government's first set of tourism promotion measures in July was focused on bringing foreign tourists to Korea, its second batch of measures unveiled Monday is aimed at enhancing domestic tourism. The government laid out its plans in a meeting presided over by President Park Geun-hye on Monday. One part of the plan involves the establishment of so-called tourism weeks in spring and fall to more evenly distribute the nation's tourism demand, which currently peaks in the summer. The designation will cover a total of 22 days from May 1st to the 11th and September 25th to October 5th. The Tourism Ministry and the Education Ministry are considering whether to close elementary, middle, and high schools for short vacations during these periods. Also starting this year, the government will select 3 tourist cities of the year. Each of the 3 cities will be provided with as much as $2.3 million over a 3-year period. President Park described tourism as a goose that lays golden eggs and pledged to include tourism as the key sector in her 3-year plan for economic innovation. She called for world-class policies that are in line with the public's rising standards and those that bring out the unique characteristics of each region. Koreans spend around $23 billion a year on domestic tourism, triggering more than $36 billion in production and creating some 5 million jobs. President Park emphasized that should domestic tourism increase by 10% above that, the effect would be enormous. The president was joined at Monday's meeting by the Secretary General of the UN World Tourism Organization, Taleb Rifai, who emphasized Korea's role in creating new opportunities for developing nations through tourism. President Park also highlighted the importance of nurturing students in vocational high schools for the tourism industry, benchmarking Switzerland's advanced vocational training system, saying it will raise the nation's youth employment level and help meet the demands for employees in the sector. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with heroes and experts to help you understand the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best with Moon Gun-young and Daniel Che on Early Edition at 6.
Now shifting gears to the economy, Korean import prices rose by 2 points. The Korean currency fell by the most in more than 7 months against the U.S. dollar on this Monday as the U.S. Federal Reserve's quantitative easing tapering sparked concerns about capital outflows from emerging markets. In the biggest fall since June 2013, the Korean won shed more than 14 won to finish the day at 1,084 won against the greenback. Analysts in Seoul are saying that while the dollar gained ground aided by the Fed's stimulus cut and emerging market jitters, the Korean won weakened as foreign investors unloaded stocks. Meanwhile, shares in Seoul also finished the trading session lower in response to further Fed stimulus cuts and soft Chinese economic surveys. The benchmark Kospi closed down 1.1% at 1920, with offshore investors selling a net $391.2 million worth of Kospi shares, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq dropped 0.3%. Now, in the wake of Korea's largest ever personal information leak, financial regulators have slapped 3-month business suspensions on 3 of the nation's leading credit card companies. This comes as the government takes more steps to better secure the public's personal and financial information. Here's our Connie Kim with this report.
Korea's financial regulators are coming down hard on 3 credit card companies whose customer data was stolen in the largest personal information leak in the country's history. The Financial Services Commission and the Financial Supervisory Service will suspend the business operations of KB Kumgang Card, NH Nongyup Card, and Lotte Card for 3 months, starting February 17th. Under the terms of the suspension, the companies will be banned from taking on new customers, issuing card loans, or processing cash advances. Existing customers, however, will not be affected as the suspension does not ban the firms from providing financial services to them. The suspension is the first in over 10 years when credit card companies indiscriminately issued credit cards that led to mounting individual debt. Last month's leak, which affected at least 20 million people, sparked concerns the data could have ended up in the hands of scammers. The estimated compensation for mental damage caused to customers by the data breach is expected to reach nearly $160 million. As another part of the punishment, the CEOs of the 3 firms are to face punishment depending on their accountability. With the public still up in arms over the leak, Prime Minister Chung Won said Sunday that law enforcement authorities will begin an indefinite crackdown on those who illegally circulate or use leaked personal data. However, concern continues to rise as it turns out not only credit card holders' information could be at risk. Following an external audit, the Financial Supervisory Service confirmed Monday that the data of 51 customers of the Prudential Life Insurance Company of Korea has also been leaked. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The scale of the oil spill that occurred last Friday off of the southern port city of Yeosu is much larger than previously reported. The head of the Yeosu Maritime Police Department, Kim Sang-bae, said at a press conference on this Monday morning that the amount of oil spilled was 164 tons, which is over 200 times greater than the previous estimates. The spill occurred after a Singapore-registered tanker hit a landing bridge last Friday as it tried to dock at Nakpohang Harbor, causing 3 oil pipelines to rupture. The pipelines are operated by GS Caltex, which provided the regional spill estimates. Kim added the tanker was going at about 13 kilometers an hour when it was approaching the port. Now that's 3 times faster than the recommended safe speed of 4 kilometers per hour. Protesters in Thailand pledged Monday to organize larger street protests in an effort to overturn the results of a general election that was first designed to quell the unrest. Demonstrators against Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra were able to disrupt the voting process in certain regions on Sunday, keeping millions of people from casting ballots. For those that weren't able to vote, the government said it would hold a second round of polls, although they also added it could take weeks to do so. A new parliament will be allowed to sit until 95% of the seats have been filled.
Now, disease prevention authorities remained busy during the Lunar New Year holiday here in Korea, trying to prevent the spread of the avian flu, although 4 new suspected cases of the virus were reported. The Agriculture Ministry said Monday that a chicken farm in the southwestern province of Jeollabuk-do and one in the southeastern province of Gyeongsang-namdo appeared to be negative for the virus, but that there is a high chance that 2 duck farms in the central Korean province of Chungcheongbuk-do have been contaminated.
The virus was confirmed in migratory ducks in Jeollanam-do on Monday after ducks were found dead a week ago. Although AI cases have diminished recently, tensions remain since the incubation period of the virus can last 3 weeks. 40 farms have been contaminated with the virus so far, and at least 2.6 million ducks and chickens have been killed at 115 farms.
So we are now back from a 4-day Lunar New Year holiday, but despite it being the new year, the nation is still struggling to stave off a bird flu outbreak.
Just over the weekend, 2 new suspected cases were reporting, stoking even more concerns that the highly pathogenic poultry disease may be spreading faster here in Korea.
Right, and although health officials have said that the strain found in Korea, the H5N8 strain, unlike a few other strains of bird flu, poses no immediate threat to humans, it nonetheless has the country on high alert.
That, coupled with news of human infections of bird flu, although from a different strain in China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, health authorities in Korea are making all efforts to contain the spreading poultry disease.
Well, for an expert's view on this highly pathogenic disease, we are joined live in the studio by Dr. Hwang Sung-hee, Professor of Veterinary Medicine at Chungnam National University. Dr. Seo, welcome to the program.
Welcome.
Now, the latest confirmed case of AI was found in mallard ducks in Korea's Jeollanam province, and there really seems to be no let-up in the spread of this disease, and the government health authorities have pointed to migratory birds as the source of this bird flu outbreak. Now, are we sure about that, and do we expect this bird flu to spread even further?
At current Korean outbreak strain is H5N8 bird flu is new strain. Never found in the outside of Korea, including the migrant bird, even the duck and chicken farm. So, pointing to the migrant bird doesn't have the scientific background. So we need to study more detail on the genetic information of the H5N8 strain. So at this moment, definitely after outbreak in the duck or chicken farm, the high amount of virus is created in the farm, and that kind of farm is contaminated larger virus. So most of migrant birds, they converge to the vicinity of the outbreak farm during the night to pick up the grain or some feed. So that bird is a possibility is contaminated. They're infected in the after feeding the infected farms. So migrant bird, the primary source of the first outbreak in the Gochang duck farm, so we don't have the scientific evidence. So the possibly may be created in the Korean farm because it's the principle that highly pathogenic flu can be only created in the duck or chicken farm, not in the migratory bird.
Well, in 2003, we had the first bird flu or AI outbreak. Back then, we did not even stick to using AI as the short form because it stood for other many terms. But now AI has become more of a household name, and it became automatically linked to avian influenza now. That's how often it has happened since 2003. 5 times so far. And all 5 times the government, to many skeptics, have failed to contain it before it got too big. What's your perspective on this?
Yeah, basically that in case we have an outbreak in the farm in duck or in the chicken, as I told you that this kind of bird produce a lot of virus and easily contaminated the vicinities. In the case, every kind of, even the wild animal can be a source for the spreading, even the feral bird, many kind of things. Right? So the worst thing is that, especially if we have the outbreak in the winter, like current outbreak, and avian flu survival chances are very high. Simply say under 4 degrees Celsius, right? The avian flu in the environment, they can survive more than 1 month. So in case we have outbreak, it's hard to control without vaccination.
I suppose the biggest question in the minds of many, many Koreans is whether this new, never-before-seen H5N8 virus could impact humans, because we've seen other strains, including the one that's prevalent in China and Hong Kong and Taiwan these days, are very likely to infect humans, and we have seen many, many deaths there. So honestly, what we're most worried about is whether this could impact or affect human beings, this H5N8 virus here in Korea.
I can say that every avian flu, they can impact human, because the human lung tissue have the receptor for binding to avian flu. So if you are exposed to high amount of H5N8 flu, you can be infected in the lung. But fortunately, this avian flu, they cannot infect well the upper respiratory, like nose and trachea. So just the air transmission, the infectivity is very low. But if you are exposed to the infected bird, right? So you can be infected with the H5N8 flu, and you can be I mean, your life is maybe into the danger, because that the H5N8 flu is highly pathogenic. That means that if you are infected in your body, this virus can infect, they spread all your internal organs, including brain. So another thing is H7N9 flu now is the epidemic in China, right? That strain is a little different. H7N9 is highly adapted in the human. They can infect upper respiratory, like nose and trachea. And that virus now is, even though limited, but they can infect person to person by aerosol transmission. So H7N9 is a very dangerous virus. Is a high chance for pandemic in coming years.
I'm going to ask you a question that's probably at the tip of many people in Korea, especially those who enjoy fried chicken and other bird-related dishes, and those who actually work in the industry. Is it still safe to consume chickens or ducks?
I can say that any kind of flu is very sensitive to temperature, especially high temperature.
So cooking them at high temperatures.
If you try to eat cooked chicken or duck, it's okay. But the problem is if I try to cook, I mean, for example, after you buy the duck or chicken meat on the market and putting in your home, try to cook, right, cutting. So in case you have better chance to have some infected, right, duck or chicken meat. It's that kind of cooking process is possibly you can be the source to your infection. So, but in Korea, in theory, the chances of the infected dog or chicken meat trading in the market is very low. But you need to be careful about try to cooking during this time.
Right, so not when we try to consume the cooked dish, but in the process of cooking the dish, there might be we might get in contact with the
especially
virus.
you are trying cooking, you are trying cutting, right? They cause aerosol particle, particle you can be exposed to lung tissue. You can impact it.
All right, Dr. Saw, last but not least, if there is suspicion that we might have been in contact with infected poultry, or if we have recently been in an area where there have been cases, confirmed cases of this avian influenza, what should we do?
The best way is to try to clean it, especially you need to wash your hand. Also, if you are contact on your shoes, right, must disinfect shoes. Especially when you try to wash it, right, your hand must use the soap. Any kind of flu, including avian flu, is very sensitive to soap. So if you try to wash your hand with soap, and they can kill that kind of virus.
Okay, Dr. Seo Sang-hee, Professor of Veterinary Medicine at Cheongnan National University. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having you again someday soon.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. This has been Daniel Choi.
And I'm Moon Gon-young. Thank you as always for being here with us. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and we will see you right back here same time tomorrow. Good night.